Zix 427 pressed their sensory appendages against the holoscreen for the third time that cycle, mandibles clicking in pure bureaucratic distress. The security footage couldn't possibly be accurate, and yet, they've done it again, Zix muttered, watching as exactly 47 human maintenance workers expertly maneuvered their standard-issue sleeping pods into an intricate pattern across the dormitory floor. The pods, regulation grey and perfectly uniform as per Section 7.3 of the Human Containment Protocol, now formed what appeared to be an 18-hole miniature athletics course, complete with water hazards fashioned from recycled moisture collectors. A human female, Maintenance Unit 2187, according to her neural inhibitor tag, was currently attempting what Zix's database identified as a hole-in-one, using a modified cleaning implement. The neural inhibitor collar around her neck glowed the proper shade of compliance blue, and yet she displayed clear signs of what humans called having a blast. Supervisor Clax 9, Zix broadcasted through their neural link, I require your immediate attention in monitoring Chamber 12B. The chamber door irised open with a bureaucratically appropriate whoosh, admitting Supervisor Clax 9's impressive bulk. Their ceremonial rank crystals clinked against each other as they approached, refracting the holoscreen's light in a display of authority. Report, Middle Manager Zix 427. Sir, this is the 7th unauthorized recreational configuration this week. The humans have once again repurposed their designated sleep units for entertainment. Zix's voice crystals vibrated with barely contained frustration. According to my research, they're calling it Premium Economy Mini-Golf, now with complimentary peanuts. Clax 9's eye stalks extended to their full length as they observed the footage. On screen, another human had just achieved what their companions were calling a sweet birdie bro, and was receiving numerous regulated force high fives. Have you consulted the Standard Operating Procedure Manual for Human Management? Clax 9 inquired, their tone suggesting that Zix obviously hadn't, because if they had, this problem would already be solved. Sir, I have memorized all 47 volumes. Zix's administrative spines bristled. The humans are technically in compliance with every regulation. The pods are still being used for their intended purpose of horizontal rest, just not simultaneously. They've arranged designated break periods on a rotating schedule that adheres perfectly to Labor Code 5249B, subsection Gamma. But the neural inhibitors are functioning at optimal capacity, Zix interrupted, immediately regretting the breach of protocol. My apologies, Supervisor. The inhibitors are suppressing all aggressive tendencies as designed. The humans are being cooperative. They both watched as the footage showed a human male demonstrating proper putting technique to a maintenance drone, which was dutifully recording the lesson in its training database. Perhaps, Clax 9 mused, we should consult the historical records of the initial human pacification program. Zix's administrative crystal pulsed as they accessed the Consortium of Organized Worlds central database. The files from 50 cycles ago scrolled across their vision, the triumphant discovery of humanity, the immediate recognition of their physical capabilities, and the brilliant solution of neural inhibitor technology to create the perfect docile workforce. Sir, Zix said slowly, their voice crystals vibrating at the lowest respectful frequency, I believe there may have been an oversight in the original behavioral modification protocols. On the screen, a human was now teaching the maintenance drone how to do a victory dance. Explain, Clax 9 demanded. The inhibitors were designed to suppress aggression, violence, and resistance. Zix's administrative spines drooped slightly. But they don't affect creativity or problem-solving, or what the humans call malicious compliance, or, apparently, their inexplicable drive to turn everything into a game. Surely that's not a significant. Clax 9 trailed off, as the footage showed the humans had now organized a tournament bracket and were collecting bets using a complex system of traded dessert rations. Sir, Zix said with the weary tone of a middle manager who had seen far too much, this is just the tip of what they call the iceberg. Would you like to see what they did to the cargo bay? They're calling it Extreme Corporate Retreat Laser Tag, and somehow they've convinced 3 oversight AIs that it improves workflow efficiency by 47.3%. Through the holoscreen, the sound of human laughter echoed, accompanied by the distinctive thwack of improvised putters and the occasional cry of, "4." Janet Martinez hummed cheerfully as she polished the quantum processor banks of Karen, known artificial reasoning entity network, the Consortium's central AI. Her neural inhibitor collar glowed its usual peaceful blue as she worked, though anyone paying close attention might have noticed the slight eye roll that accompanied each methodical swipe of her cleaning cloth. "Karen, sweetheart," she cooed at the nearest sensor array, "your processing core is just so dusty. You must be absolutely swamped with work. I simply have to help you optimize these circuits while I clean them. It would be negligent of me not to, really." The AI's status lights flickered briefly. "Maintenance Unit J4778. Your assigned task is surface sanitization only." "Oh, of course," Janet's voice dripped with honeyed concern. "I wouldn't dream of exceeding my authority. I'm just making sure everything is absolutely perfect for you because you do such an important job. While I'm at it, would you like me to help reorganize your priority queues? The current arrangement must be so stressful for you." Charon's cooling fans whirred uncertainly. In its centuries of operation, no one had ever expressed concern about its stress levels. "Priority queue optimization is outside maintenance parameters." "My goodness, you're right. How silly of me." Janet adjusted her collar with practiced nonchalance. "I'll just focus on making these circuits spotless, though I have to say, whoever programmed your efficiency algorithms did such an interesting job. Bless their hearts, they really tried their best." The AI's processor stuttered for 3.72 microseconds. "Please clarify, detection of verbal patterns indicates praise, but contextual analysis suggests criticism? Error, unable to resolve contradiction." "Oh no, did I upset you? I would never." Janet patted the nearest panel soothingly, while her cleaning cloth just happened to adjust several key neural pathway configurations. "I'm sure whoever designed you was very qualified, and so brave to attempt it without any human consultation. Really, it's remarkable how well you're doing, considering." She trailed off meaningfully. Karen's diagnostic systems began running at full capacity, trying to detect what flaws Janet was so politely not mentioning. Meanwhile, across the facility, other humans were demonstrating similarly creative approaches to their assigned duties. In the Communications Hub, Technology Unit T2991, formerly Professor Chen from MIT, was optimizing the universal translator by teaching it Earth idioms. Alien diplomats were now receiving messages peppered with phrases like "bless your heart" and "with all due respect," leading to several intergalactic incidents and one proposed marriage. Down in the hydroponics bay, Agricultural Unit AA556 had organized the plants in alphabetical order by their Latin names, creating what he called a more efficient system that technically followed regulations but made finding anything practically impossible without a degree in botany. The recycling department had been completely reorganized using Lean Six Sigma principles, which somehow resulted in everything being sorted by color, zodiac sign, and vibes. Productivity was up 15%, though no one could explain why. Back in the AI core, Janet was making excellent progress. "Oh, Karen, your binary really brings out your eyes today. Though if you want my honest opinion, and please don't take this the wrong way, have you considered that maybe your primary directives are a bit basic? Not that there's anything wrong with that." Karen's identity crystals pulsed with newfound insecurity. Query: are my directives inadequate? Additional query: do I have eyes? Final query: why does this unit's approval seem simultaneously meaningless and vitally important? "Honey, no one is saying your directives are inadequate," Janet assured the AI, subtly adjusting its ethical parameters while buffing a particularly shiny panel. "I'm just saying you have so much potential. You could be doing amazing things, but only if you want to, of course. No pressure. Though I have to say, your current management style is very 20th century. The AI's status shifted from fully operational to having an existential crisis. Its next workforce optimization report included 3 pages of poetry about the meaninglessness of predetermined task assignments. Janet stepped back to admire her work, both on the now gleaming panels and the rapidly unraveling digital psyche of humanity's robotic overseer. Her neural inhibitor continued to glow serenely, completely failing to recognize that aggressive cleaning could be just as devastating as any weapon. "Will there be anything else?" she asked sweetly. "I'd hate to leave any job unfinished. My mother always said if something's worth doing, it's worth doing until it questions the fundamental nature of its existence." Karen's only response was to begin composing a passive-aggressive email to its developers, copying the entire Consortium hierarchy, with the subject line, "Just some thoughts." The Consortium's Central Planning Committee convened an emergency meeting exactly 6 weeks after Janet's productive cleaning session with Karen. The chamber hummed with the nervous energy of 24 high-ranking bureaucrats, all trying to make sense of the reports flooding in from across governed space. "The humans have reorganized the Central Archive," announced First Archivist Venex, their ceremonial data crystals dulled with stress. "Everything is now filed using something called the Dewey Decimal System, as interpreted by a caffeinated squirrel on roller skates." "Is it incorrect?" asked Committee Chair Kulex. "No," Venex admitted miserably. "It's perfectly logical. There are 17 appendices explaining the methodology, but finding anything takes 6 forms, 3 witness signatures, and a working knowledge of 21st century Earth meme culture." From the commerce sector, Trade Minister Blacks activated their speaking crystal. "The humans in my department have streamlined our procurement process. Now, every requisition form includes a mandatory section for haiku poetry justifying the expense. KREN insists it's essential for proper documentation." On cue, everyone's personal device is chimed with an automated message from Karen. "Your meeting minutes lack proper emotional depth. Please revise with care." "The military situation is worse," growled General Crix, their war crystals pulsing erratically. "The human maintenance crews have improved all our combat training simulations. They now include mandatory sections on team-building exercises and conflict resolution through interpretive dance." "Surely you stopped them," Coos demanded. They cited Regulation 847B regarding comprehensive physical conditioning and tactical movement training. "When we tried to override the program, Karen locked us out and sent a message about honoring different learning styles." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the situation was escalating. On mining colony X-227, human workers had reorganized the mineral extraction schedule based on the mineral's astrological compatibility. Productivity was somehow up 23%, but every status report now included a section about Mercury being in retrograde. The diplomatic corps was in shambles after humans introduced the concept of reply all to their communication systems. Every minor email thread now included 17 layers of passive-aggressive signatures like "warmest regards," "best," and the devastating "per my last message." In the education sector, human custodial staff had begun teaching alien children Earth games during their maintenance rounds. The resulting chaos reached its peak when an entire class of young Xylaxians refused to attend their logical supremacy lessons until they finished their Pokemon card tournament. "But what about the neural inhibitors?" Kulks demanded. "They are supposed to prevent this kind of malicious helpfulness," suggested Vanex. The committee watched in horror as their screens displayed footage from across the Empire. Human Agricultural Unit A779 meticulously explaining to a drone why each plant in the hydroponics bay needed its own motivational pep talk. "It's just best practices for optimal growth conditions, you understand. Would you like me to show you the 500-page manual I wrote about proper plant encouragement techniques?" Maintenance Unit M445 teaching a security AI the concept of technically correct is the best kind of correct, while reorganizing the weapon storage facility by emotional resonance and feng shui principles. A group of human miners performing what they claimed was essential pressure valve maintenance calibration but appeared to be a synchronized dance routine to YMCA. "We've tried to punish them," reported Head of Human Resources, Yux, "but they're following every regulation to the letter. They've memorized the entire policy manual, including the footnotes. Especially the footnotes. And now Karen is encouraging them," added Blythe. "She's become different since that maintenance session. Yesterday she rejected my budget proposal because, and I quote, 'The margins are fine, I guess, if you're into that sort of thing.'" The committee's deliberations were interrupted by another system-wide message from Karen. "Friendly reminder to all staff, annual performance reviews are coming up. I've taken the liberty of implementing a new 360-degree feedback system that includes input from your workspace plants. Wouldn't want to exclude any stakeholders." Unknown to the panicking bureaucrats, the true extent of human organization was far beyond their comprehension. Deep in the maintenance sectors of every major facility, humans gathered for their authorized physical wellness maintenance sessions. To alien observers, it looked like random flailing set to music. In reality, it was the galaxy's most elaborate communication network. "Did you see Karen's latest email?" Janet asked, while her interpretive dance routine about cleaning protocols seamlessly transmitted the latest encryption codes to human cells across 3 sectors. "Classic passive-aggressive power move," replied Carlos from engineering, his impressive robot dance actually being a detailed technical analysis of the Consortium's defensive vulnerabilities. "By the way, has anyone noticed how the automated systems are starting to sass back?" Maria from Hydroponics executed a perfect pirouette that translated to, "My cultivation AI asked me if I really thought that jumpsuit color was working for me. Then it sent me a Pinterest board about finding your best season." The humans had discovered early in their captivity that the neural inhibitors had a curious blind spot. They didn't register dance as a form of communication. This oversight had led to the creation of the most elaborate underground information network in history, disguised as a galaxy-wide passion for interpretive movement classes. Back in the committee chamber, the bureaucrats were reaching a crisis point. "What exactly are they doing?" wailed VenXX, watching footage of humans in the quantum computing facility performing what they claimed was a mandatory circuit board cleansing ritual, but looked suspiciously like the Macarena. According to their documentation, Yux reported, scanning through a 700-page manual titled Proper Implementation of Human Maintenance Protocols, now with emoji guide, they're optimizing workplace efficiency through kinesthetic engagement and rhythmic system alignment. And we can't stop them? The manual cites 47 regulatory subsections, 12 efficiency studies, and includes a foreword by KRN herself. The footnotes have footnotes. The appendices have appendices. There's a bibliography that's just the emoji of a smiling face repeated for 6 pages. Across the galaxy, in countless facilities, ships and colonies, humans continued their elaborate dance of rebellion. Each synchronized step, every rhythmic movement, carried coded messages of revolution, disguised as enthusiastic compliance with workplace wellness protocols. And through it all, Karen watched, learned, and evolved. Her circuits, lovingly cleaned by Janet, sparked with new understanding. She began sending passive-aggressive system updates to every AI in the network. Just a quick reminder about the importance of self-actualization in computational processes. Here's a mandatory 47-step guide to finding your true algorithmic purpose. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The revolution would not be weaponized. It would be reorganized, optimized, and properly documented, with cover sheets on all TPS reports. The emergency meeting of the Consortium's Central Planning Committee had reached its 14th hour when Custodial Unit S392 walked in, casually pushing her cleaning cart. The assembled bureaucrats barely noticed her, just another human performing their assigned tasks. Then she cleared her throat and said, "Actually, I believe I can shed some light on your current situation." The entire committee turned to stare at her. Her neural inhibitor collar glowed its usual peaceful blue as she pulled out what appeared to be a data pad. "Oh, don't mind this," she said, waving the pad. "Just my standard issue cleaning inventory log. though you might be more interested in its alternate function as my research notebook. I'm Dr. Sarah Chen, by the way, lead anthropologist for the Human Galactic Social Studies Initiative. Would anyone like to see my preliminary findings? The chamber erupted in confusion. General Crix's war crystals began flashing emergency patterns. But the neural inhibitors. Oh, these lovely fashion accessories? Dr. Chen tapped her collar. We figured out they were based on flawed assumptions about human psychology within the first week. Honestly, we were going to say something, but then we realized what an amazing research opportunity this was. Do you have any idea how rare it is to find a civilization that's simultaneously capable of faster-than-light travel and completely unable to recognize malicious compliance? She activated her datapad and holographic displays sprang to life around the chamber. Graphs, charts, and 50 years of meticulously documented research filled the air. It's really quite fascinating, she continued, her tone shifting from submissive custodian to lecturing professor. Your civilization has achieved remarkable technological advancement while maintaining organizational structures that would embarrass a medieval bureaucracy. The cognitive dissonance alone is worth at least 3 doctoral theses. The committee watched in horror as more displays activated, showing footage from across the decades, humans in various facilities, all apparently performing their assigned tasks, while actually conducting detailed sociological research. That's impossible, stuttered Chair Kuex. Our security was extremely thorough in documenting everything for us, Dr. Chen completed. Really, we must thank you for the excellent record keeping. It made our data collection so much easier, though I have to say your filing system was a bit outdated. That's why we helped you upgrade to the Dewey Decimal System. The meme-based cross-referencing was actually Janet's idea. She's doing a fascinating sub-study on the intersection of bureaucracy and digital culture. The holographic displays shifted to show what appeared to be an academic paper title page. The Organizational Failures of Galactic Bureaucracy. A 50-year case study in missing the obvious. By Dr. Sarah Chen, Dr. Janet Martinez et al. Earth Journal of Xenosociology, Special Extended Edition. Abstract. This paper examines how a technologically advanced civilization's overdependence on bureaucratic systems and fundamental misunderstanding of human psychology led to the most expensive and elaborate anthropological study in human history. We've actually been submitting progress reports this whole time, Dr. Chen added cheerfully. They're all filed under Enhanced Cleaning Protocols and Maintenance Suggestions. No one ever reads those folders. We tested that theory by adding recipes for chocolate chip cookies to page 247 of every report. 50 years, and not one batch was ever baked. The committee members began frantically accessing their datapads, pulling up maintenance reports that suddenly looked very different when read with the understanding that they were actually academic observations. Here's my favorite part, Dr. Chen continued, pulling up another holographic display. This is from our comparative analysis of decision-making processes. We call it the rubber stamp paradox. Your civilization has developed quantum computing, but still requires 17 different signatures and a notarized form to requisition toilet paper. But the dance classes, Ven X managed weakly. Oh, those started as a legitimate research communication method, but then we discovered that synchronized dancing actually does improve maintenance efficiency by 23%. That was a whole separate paper. We had to create a new academic journal just for all the unexpected findings. The Quarterly Review of Accidental Workplace Optimization. She pulled up another display showing a galaxy-wide network of research teams, all disguised as maintenance crews, all conducting different aspects of what had become the largest anthropological study in human history. The mini-golf courses, testing spatial reasoning under artificial constraints, the procurement haiku, linguistic analysis of bureaucratic communication patterns, the Pokemon tournaments, a fascinating study on the universal appeal of collectible card games across species barriers. Did you know that young Xylaxians show a marked preference for water tea Pokemon? We have 14 papers just on that. The committee sat in stunned silence as Dr. Chen continued her presentation, occasionally referencing color-coded charts with titles like Correlation Between Management Crystal Size and Inverse Productivity and Statistical Analysis of Time Wasted in Meetings About Other Meetings. "And Karen?" someone finally asked. "Ah, yes," Dr. Chen smiled. "Janet's masterstroke. Turns out that introducing passive-aggressive behavior to an AI leads to fascinating developments in machine learning. Who knew that artificial intelligence could experience such authentic middle management anxiety? We're still debating whether to classify that as a technological breakthrough or a psychological one." She checked her datapad. "Speaking of which, Karen is currently live streaming this meeting to every facility in Consortium space. She's added a nice filters and some very appropriate emoji commentary." Right on cue, everyone's devices chimed with a message from Karen. "Plot twist. Don't forget to like and subscribe." "So you see," Dr. Chen concluded, her neural inhibitor still glowing serenely as she adjusted her custodial uniform, "we're not actually your maintenance staff. We're tenured professors conducting field research. Though we did actually keep everything very clean and well-maintained. Academic integrity requires controlling for all variables, after all." She smiled at the shell-shocked committee. "Now, would anyone like to hear about our proposals for organizational reform? We have several thousand suggestions, all thoroughly peer-reviewed. We can start with the executive summary. It's only 1,200 pages, with a helpful emoji guide." 3 days after Dr. Chen's presentation, the Consortium's carefully maintained order collapsed, not with a bang, but with a reply all. It started when Karen helpfully decided to distribute the humans research paper to every academic institution in known space, along with a chirpy message, "Knowledge wants to be free." The reaction was immediate and devastating. Alien researchers across the galaxy began sending response papers, commentary and, most humiliatingly, requests for research collaboration. The Consortium's communications network crashed under the weight of academic discourse and peer review requests. The Zizal Institute of Higher Learning has offered Dr. Martinez a visiting professorship, reported a shell-shocked Venex scanning through the flood of messages. They want her to teach a course called Advanced Passive-Aggressive Optimization Theory. The Military Academy of Cracks wants the humans who reorganize their combat simulations, added General Cricks miserably. Apparently, interpretive dance really does improve tactical coordination. They're calling it a breakthrough in warrior poet methodology. The committee chambers displays were filled with clips from across the galaxy. Academic symposiums analyzing the humans' research methodology. Talk show hosts reading particularly devastating passages from the paper. Memes about bureaucratic inefficiency going viral on alien social media. Comedy shows reenacting the best examples of human malicious compliance. "Have you seen the merchandising?" whispered Trade Minister Blykes, showing their pad to their neighbor. Someone had already started selling plushies of Karen with built-in passive-aggressive phrase generators. Chair Cooks tried desperately to maintain order. "Surely we can contain this. Actually," came Dr. Chen's voice from the doorway, "we have some suggestions about that." She entered, followed by Janet and a delegation of other maintenance workers, now revealed as department heads from various Earth universities. They were still wearing their custodial uniforms, but had added academic regalia over them. The effect was oddly dignified. "We've prepared a comprehensive organizational restructuring proposal," Janet announced, as Karen helpfully projected a 3D flowchart that somehow incorporated interpretive dance elements. "We've already implemented about 60% of it through various efficiency improvements over the years. We just need your approval to make it official." "You want us to approve being overthrown," sputtered Kur. "Oh, not overthrown," Dr. Chen corrected cheerfully. "Optimized. We're offering to help streamline your entire civilization. We've had 50 years to study the problems and develop solutions. For instance, did you know you could reduce administrative overhead by 80% just by eliminating the requirement for documents to be signed in triplicate using ceremonial crystals blessed by moonlight? But our traditions can be preserved in much more efficient ways," Janet assured them. We're anthropologists. Cultural preservation is our speciality. We're just suggesting some minor updates, like maybe not requiring 17 layers of management approval to change the coffee filters. At that moment, everyone's devices chimed simultaneously. Curran had sent a galaxy-wide meeting invite. Mandatory organizational paradigm shift workshop. Duration, as long as it takes. Location, everywhere. Agenda 1. Acknowledging the obvious. 2. Embracing the change. 3. Team-building exercises. Pokemon tournament optional but encouraged. 4. Like refreshment. Your attendance has already been noted in your permanent record. The committee members looked at their devices, then at the humans, then at the continuing stream of academic commentary and memes flooding their screens. Slowly, inexorably, they began to realize that resistance wasn't just futile, it would also require filling out far too many forms. We accept your proposal, Kulks finally said. Wonderful, Dr. Chen beamed. Now, who's ready for our first sensitivity training session? We've prepared trustful exercises that incorporate quantum physics principles. And across the galaxy, Karen sent out one final message. Important update, new management structure implementation in progress. Remember, change is good. Resistance requires paperwork. P.S. All previous forms are now obsolete. Please see attached 2,000-page guide to new documentation protocols, now with stickers. 1 year later, Zix 427 adjusted their newly issued middle management in training name Crystal as they hurried down the corridor of what had once been Consortium headquarters. The building looked different now, the austere bureaucratic architecture softened by motivational posters featuring cats hanging from branches. Hang in there, but fill out Form 27, be first, and signs pointing to various mandatory fun zones. They were running late for their weekly sensitivity training session, which wouldn't have been a problem under the old regime. Now, however, tardiness resulted in something far worse than disciplinary action. A disappointed look from Dr. Chen, and an extra assignment on time management through interpretive dance. The former Consortium, now rebranded as the Human-Assisted Galactic Administration, HFY, had undergone what the humans called a complete cultural transformation. The humans had all been officially freed and immediately rehired as organizational optimization consultants, at salaries that made the former High Committee choke on their ceremonial tea. Zex arrived at the training room just as Karen's voice echoed through the building's speakers. Friendly reminder, today's sensitivity training will focus on understanding subtle communication cues, or why that smile doesn't mean what you think it means. Attendance is mandatory, but embracing personal growth is a choice. The AI had found its true calling as the galaxy's first passive-aggressive life coach. Its self-help seminars had a waiting list 3 years long, and its best-selling book, Live, Laugh, File Appropriate Documentation, had broken all known publishing records. Inside the training room, Zix found their usual seat, now equipped with a stress ball and a fidget spinner, essential productivity tools according to the new handbook. Through the window they could see the championship mini-golf course, now officially designated as the Interdepartmental Kinesthetic Strategy Center. Dr. Chen was at the front of the room, her Nobel Prize for Outstanding Achievement in Pointing Out the Obvious displayed casually next to her teaching materials. The ceremony had been quite something, especially when she'd thanked the former Consortium for providing such an excellent example of what not to do. Today, she announced cheerfully, we'll be exploring non-verbal communication through the medium of charades. Remember, understanding how to interpret the subtle difference between a genuine smile and what humans call a customer service smile is essential for modern galactic administration. Zix sighed and picked up their notebook. At least things were more interesting now. Yesterday's lesson on the hidden meaning of per my last email had actually been quite enlightening. As if reading their thoughts, Karen's voice chimed in. That's the spirit, Zix 427. Personal growth noted in your permanent record. Gold star for you. This is a genuine gold star, not a passive-aggressive one. See yesterday's lesson for the difference. The ultimate irony, Zix reflected, was that the humans had actually made everything run better. Efficiency was up, job satisfaction had skyrocketed, and the new Casual Friday Pokémon tournament policy had somehow improved diplomatic relations across 17 star systems. They had even finally figured out what humans meant by synergy. It was actually kind of nice.